What's up everyone, we're back with the Dark Souls playthrough, and we have just gotten the Enchanted Ember, killed the Hydra, and gotten ourselves some good gear. We're on our way to Sens Fortress. Again, this is my favorite zone in the game because it's just filled with traps, and it's just a really well-designed dungeon, if you will. And this is the first point in the game where the enemies start to really become challenging. Not challenging for a sorcerer, if you will, but they have a lot more hit points and they hit a lot harder. Now, right when we come to the entrance to Sens Fortress, there's two snake guardians, and if you bait them in and you step on this stone platform there, you can actually get a trap to fire on one of them and kill one of them pretty much outright. And then the next one is just you inch a little bit more forward and you can take him out by himself. Now, I find that the most effective way to kill these snakes is just hold your shield up and run around them and get backstabs, but that's not always going to be possible in here because of some confined quarters, and that makes the sorcerer really good in this level, or anything with ranged weapons, because otherwise for straight melee classes it's a bit harder because you actually have to go toe-to-toe with melee characters on a thin passageway, and that could just be tough. I've equipped the the spider shield again in this zone because it has decent lightning resist, and there's enemies that throw lightning spells. Now, what I just did was, instead of actually entering the dungeon, I fell off to the left-hand side to this little ladder area here, which is going to give me another soul, but there's actually going to be a hidden door up here that takes me to the top, where there's a giant that actually opened up the door to Sens Fortress, and I'm going to kill him to get I believe it's a Titanite chunk. These large giants really aren't that much of a challenge, especially for a sorcerer. Again, you can just pelt them with soul arrows. Once they get closer, you can just kind of start to strafe around them and attack them from behind. They have some tells as to when they're going to do their big attacks, like this one here. You just back out of the way. Well, obviously not what I did. And then when they do that move, then they fall down, giving you a lot of time to go in and actually get some swings on them. So no problem. So now we're ready to actually get into the actual fortress, and here's where the thin ledges start. And there's big swinging axes, and these ledges actually get thinner as you climb to the very top, and that's going to be our ultimate goal, to take out the Iron Golem boss once we get to the top. And here's where we can see where having a ranged weapon is advantageous, because above us is someone shooting lightning bolts down, but if you didn't have any ranged weapons, you're going to have to go toe-to-toe with this guy, and he can actually knock you off. And there are 4 demon titanites down below in a very sticky, thick swamp type area, so wearing the rusted iron ring is advantageous if you feel like you're going to fall down a lot here. Now, the majority of this level, again, is just going to be climbing and then crossing narrow spaces with traps, and each trap gives you a little bit different situation. And this one, we've got a guy shooting lightning bolts at us, so that's where, again, why we wanted that the poison shield, because it at least blocks some of the lightning damage. And ideally, you're going to want to time it to run through and not take any damage, but we'll see what happens. Being that we're low enough in the dungeon right now, getting knocked off is not necessarily fatal, but once you go a little bit higher, those blades can knock you off and absolutely will kill you from the fall. There's another trap here in front of me, which I just dodged, and a couple large titanites. This is another interesting area. Down below us there was a serpent, and there's a hidden wall that can actually be smashed by the boulder that just knocked that guy down. And if you do that, which we'll do later, it will reveal that Big Hat Logan is actually in a cage hanging there, and we'll save him after we finish the boss, and then we can start buying the really good spells in the level. Now here's where we're going to start we're gonna fart. We're gonna start seeing these boulders that you have to run and sprint by, and there are 4 different paths the boulder can run down through the dungeon, which you're able to control eventually. But if they hit you, it's gonna deal a significant amount of damage. You can see it just pretty much one-shot that enemy there. Up where the enemy was is a treasure box as well that we're gonna pick up. The Ring of Steel and Protection gives you defense versus physical attacks, which I find to be really good in here because there's so many physical attacks. Also, if we jump up this ledge right here, there's a shottle, which is what Knight Lautrec used on us. I don't believe that I'll actually end up using them in this playthrough though. And then down below are a couple serpents, as well as a knight. I think his name is Sigmire, something like that, who's an NPC that you'll run into frequently, and it seems that every time that you run into him and save him, he gives you an item. Not in this case. This is one of the first times that you're going to run into him.
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegmeyer of Katarina. Quite honestly, I've run flat up against a wall. Or a ball, to be precise. I'm afraid I'm a bit too tough to be outrunning those things. So here I sit in quite a pickle, weighing my options, so to speak. Perhaps I could try some rolling. Bah, no job. My head would spin.
Now that we've got all the items out of this area, we're gonna move on to the next area here, and there's a trap in this hallway that can easily be avoided, and there's also gonna be a serpent guy waiting for us. I don't know why, but this serpent can't set that trap off. I've tried so many times, and whenever he walks over it, he still just never sets it off. As you can see, my enchanted +1 Falcon is pretty freaking strong right now. I believe it's got a B rating on its intellect scaling, and I've got something close to 40 intellect now. So it no longer is scaling off dexterity or strength. It's scaling entirely off of my intellect. Now this ball is pretty tough to dodge. I don't think I've ever gotten by it once. Yep, and it hits you pretty hard. In fact, I've died from it several times. Now this room actually allows you to control where the ball is going to fall to, and you can turn a lever which shoots it down various directions. If we shoot it down the path that I'm shooting it down now to the left, that's going to bring it down and break a wall that's going to reveal a path that leads to Big Hat Logan, which we'll eventually get to. But by simply pushing it this way, I'm able to go back down the way I just came and look for some additional treasures, which one in particular is pretty good. Just some sorcerer gear. It's pretty much worthless. The spell Hush, I believe, makes it so that you make no noise when you walk, I think. Now if you look right in front of us, there's a big hole in the ground. If we start to send the ball down this way, the balls will fall into that hole, and if you stack enough of them up, one will actually break through that wall, which we'll do later, and you can run through it and get a ring. This is a fake treasure box. It's actually a monster. If I would have opened that up without attacking it first, it would have just one-shot eaten me. So I'm going to take it out, and when you kill these things, then you get what's actually inside, and sometimes there's a chance that they'll actually drop a rare helmet that, I believe it's called the Avarice Hood or Avarice Box. That is, it's actually where your head turns into the giant treasure box with the teeth and tongue, which is pretty hilarious. These things aren't all that difficult as long as you don't let them eat you. Now this guy drops a lightning spear, which is your first instance of an item that has a lightning enchant on it, which means the weapon would no longer scale with any stats like strength, intellect, or dexterity, but instead would deal a fixed rate of lightning damage that can be upgraded. For most characters on their playthroughs, if they haven't gotten any special weapons, this is going to be a significant upgrade, especially for melee characters. So I really recommend using that item for melee characters when they get here. Now I'm going back, and I fell back down to where I just was, but instead of going right, I'm going left, and down here there's going to be a Slumbering Dragon Crest ring, which is, when worn, a ring that allows you to produce no sound, which is really good for characters that want to focus on doing backstabbing, like thieves and, you know, like thieves. Now, as far as I know, the only way to get out of this little area is to fall down and backtrack to pretty much the beginning and then kind of repeat that area again. So I think that's what I'll have to do here. I wonder why I only have 2 Estus flasks. It seems odd, like I didn't rest at the bonfire or something. I don't know exactly what's happening right now. I don't remember using all those. That's just odd. Anyway, we're gonna climb back up here, and the boulder is most likely gonna hit us again on our way up. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to get this boulder to fill in that hole that was down there by the chest that tried to eat us, so we can break open that wall. Ooh, fucking owned. And now, after about 5 boulders have gone down, if you push the lever just into another direction, we should be able to run down there now and see that the boulders have filled in the hole and broken through the wall, revealing the, I think it's the covetous iron ring, something like that, that increases item discovery by like 300%. So if you wear that, if you're farming items, if you're farming rare Titanites, you'll want to wear that. Or if you're gonna, you know, fight the treasure chest and try to get the rare helmet, you'd want to wear that. Covetous Gold Serpent Ring, that's what it is. So that's where that's at. And now that we have pretty much all the items in the zone that I care about, at least, we're gonna finally make our way through the rest of the dungeon, which is not that much further. Trap there that you'd have to avoid, or I imagine you could probably sprint through it as well. The next ledge to cross here again has axes, and as far as I know, the only way to cross it is simply to sprint across it. To the right is a serpent, and up these stairs is one that shoots lightning. If you engage the one on the stairs, the one from behind will come. If you engage the one on the right first, the lightning bolt one will not engage you. These really aren't a problem, again, if you can shoot stuff at them. Now up around the corner is the thinnest ledge. It's the final ledge to cross. But there's actually a serpent that's going to be shooting stuff at you. And if you don't have a ranged weapon, this can be a real pain in the butt. You either have to hope that for whatever reason they fall off randomly, or you're just going to have to try and foot it across with your shield up, blocking his hits and making it across this. It's really tough without a ranged weapon. If you're a melee character, I would always recommend having at least a crossbow. You can wield a light crossbow with something like 12 or 13 strength, and you should be able to pick off anything. This one you just have to inch across. You go 2 axes at a time, stop, and then go the next 2 axes. And there you go. We're now at the top of the fortress, and we're going to get close to a bonfire up here. Now, there's going to be a giant that's going to start lobbing down boulders that explode right here. So you need to start sprinting across, and as long as you're running, he's going to throw them too slowly. And here's the location of the next bonfire. You have to jump off this ledge, and that's actually kind of tough to find, but that's where we're going to end this video as we prepare for the boss fight and a few extra items in Sens Fortress. See you then.